Greetings, everyone. It is Linda Talaferro, Being Brown at Work Live. And yes, as I always say every Tuesday, it's my favorite time of the week because I get to spend time with you, and I love it when I have guests. So I know you can already see that I have a guest, and we're going to jump right in it because when you hear this woman's story, this fabulous woman's story, I know you're going to connect to it. I know it's going to resonate with you. You're going to hear some things that you've often heard from me, um, because, as I always say, I know that certain things work, and I know what's possible when we get out of our own way. And I'm just so honored that this woman graced me with a yes when I reached out to her to be a guest. So let me tell you a little bit about this fabulous woman. Her name is Sonya Moore. Sonia has over 20 years of experience in engineering and program management supporting the automotive industry. She has a BS and an MS in engineering, a BS and an MS in engineering, and she has a PMP. So she's a certified program manager. She has led initial launches of hybrid vehicles for the big three companies, which is what she's doing right now. She spent 2.5 years on an assignment in Europe, leading a 15-member team in a footprint consolidation project. She successfully led numerous multi-million dollar projects for various companies, doing new program launches, process improvements, and cost saving initiatives. She is now authoring a book, How to Implement Lean Engineering, and developing a three-step approach to how to have a successful meeting. So she's gonna be an author of two books, in addition to all this other fabulous stuff I just read. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta, Oak Grove AME Church, an executive member of the 14th Congressional District. See, I'm so excited, so excited. A mentor of engineering students at Wayne State University. It's a university here in Michigan. Some of her outside interests are supporting voter rights, ballroom dancing, and I've seen her. She's good. I mean, y'all, she's good. Loves the hustle and enjoys crafting and glass etching. Welcome to Being Brown at Work Live, Sonia. I'm so glad to
Thank
have
you,
you.
Linda. I'm so glad. It's honored that you would invite me. Thank you so very much.
Oh, I had to. I had to. So, Sonia, 20 plus year career in a really technical field. I mean, massive launches, footprint consolidations. I mean, those are highly technical fields, highly technical assignments. When you started your career 20 some years ago, is that what you envisioned for yourself?
Linda, so taking this back a little bit, let me tell you where I actually started. I started at Kellogg's. I ate my way through my job, right? So I literally worked on process lines in Battle Creek, Michigan, working for Kellogg's. So I
Oh,
literally had the cereal right off the line. So the cereal you get in the so the best things we ever did at work is when we had to go in and try new food and they would pull the employees in to do taste testing. I just gained weight. That's all I did. But that's really where my beginning started. I started at Kellogg.
wow.
And
Wow.
I can truly say, even though the last many years started and are basically in part of automotive, I
Hmm.
started in food. And then I
Okay.
went to office furniture manufacturing in Grand
Wow.
Rapids, Michigan. And so, like, totally different. I ate my way through and then I sat my way through with some really great office furniture. And then from there, I said, you know what? I want to move back to Detroit. So let me get my foothold into the automotive industry. And I
Okay.
started with a supplier in Holland,
Okay.
Michigan with Prince Corporation.
Okay.
And then moved right on back to Detroit, where I was born and raised.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Sonia. And all the time we've talked, how come I've never known that? Food industry. That's
Food
phenomenal.
industry.
Food industry. So, in now you're in automotive and you have a technical degree and you've got this career trajectory in mind for yourself, I'm sure. If you could revisit those days for me, how did it feel? Did you run into some challenges out the gate, or did it take a little bit for you to really experience anything that you thought, okay, wait a minute, this is going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought?
I can truly say, well, first off, everybody's going to get this. As soon as you get out of college, you think you're the smartest person in the room, right? So I walked into Kellogg's like, I got this. I got this. I'm good. I had to get slapped down a few times, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I was not as I was book smart, but I didn't have really good, real time experience, right? So I really
Mm.
needed to learn, you know, college doesn't teach you, corporate America 101. They just
Yeah.
make us book smart and they make us
Right.
technically literate. They don't
Yeah.
teach us how to take that and then mold it into corporate America to be a
Mm-hmm.
good person in corporate America. So I had some challenges in the beginning.
Okay.
And what even, I mean, and that's not the reason why I left Kellogg's. I got married and moved.
Okay.
So, I learned a little bit at Kellogg's. And then when I went to Steelcase, I learned a lot at Steelcase and I
Mm-hmm.
grew a lot. But the one thing that I can tell you, I had a mentor at Steelcase. And that was my first time ever getting a mentor.
Mm.
And it was an older man, and he pulled me aside and he was like, "Let me help you out, little girl." And he walked me through some things to kind of help me, to kind
Mm-hmm.
of help round off some of my edges.
Okay.
And you'll hear me say that a little bit again because even as I've grown in this career, we always have a few edges that we have to round off a little bit just to
Yes.
smooth them out. You still have to be a little forceful because you're still a woman in technical, but it's always about the approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how you have to look at this. It's not always about rounding off every edge. It's about how you deliver the message.
Ah,
And that
wow.
is really what I tell so many people. It sometimes is not the message, it's how you deliver the message.
Wow. So I love that, Sonia. So, and that's one thing. I mean, you and I, people that look like us, right? I mean, and that's the reason why this is being Brown at Work Live, because it's those edges, right? It is that challenge, to understand when they need to be rounded and when you just show up. But I think the fundamental piece is understanding that you can still be authentically you with the rounded edges where necessary or the sharp ones, right?
Absolutely.
But what you just said, though, I think is something that is extremely critical, and that is the awareness of the
Linda, that is
fact that
so
you need to,
hard.
yeah, please
It's
share,
so hard.
share.
It's hard because it's kind of like I said from my first job. We walk into this, we're so educated, we feel we have all this experience, and
Yes.
then, somebody hits you with critical, and it really is critical feedback. And you're like, who are
Mm,
you talking to? That's not me. And then, you're kind of like, what? But you have to learn, and it is a skill set. And it's not a skill set that it I don't want to say this. It's not a skill set that is inherent that we just
mm,
automatically have. You
true.
have to learn how to take in criticism, both positive and negative, and
Yes.
say, okay, are they telling me something that is really true? Get out of
Hmm.
your own way
Mm,
and listen to what they're saying. And sometimes you may have to pull in a good girlfriend. Okay, but it can't be that girlfriend that tells you, "Girl, you're fine." It's that
yeah.
girlfriend that is really going to tell you, "You're not
Mhm.
looking your best today," right? You have to
Yeah.
find that good girlfriend that says, "You know what? They're kind of right," and that sets you back. But it's not
Yes.
always about learning that they were right. It's about how do you autocorrect.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have
Oh, I
to
love that.
autocorrect. You have to hear that that didn't go very well, and then say, okay, how could I have done that differently? And there are
Yes.
times in which I will sit at night and think about conversations I've had with people to say, you know what, tomorrow morning I'm gonna call that person up and I'm gonna apologize.
Mm.
And I've had to do
Wow.
that. And I've had to do that recently. I mean, because it's not because we get into a moment and we say something or we snip it off very quickly, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's like, probably shouldn't have said that. And as they're flowing out of my mouth, I'm like, can't take that back, but I can't
Yep.
apologize for it.
Yes.
And understand, and and this is something that a mentor told me once. Don't embarrass someone in public and apologize to them in private.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So if I've embarrassed you on a phone with 20 people, the next time we have that meeting, or if I have to send you an email, you carbon copy all those people, and then you say, hey, Linda, what I said to you, I should have said a little bit differently. I apologize. So let me rephrase.
Right.
That wins you more street cred than just sitting back going, I'm not apologizing. I'm good.
Right. Right. Oh
So
my gosh,
it is
Sonia,
so important. It is so important that you do that.
it is. And you've just put all kind of nuggets all in what you just shared. And I want to kind of peel them back and dissect them a little bit one by one because it was just beautiful. I mean, really what you talked, there's a couple things you talked about. One is the emotional intelligence, right? The awareness piece, which we have to, as Black and Brown women, that is, you're right, a skill set. We need to develop that and sharpen that. And it doesn't have to lessen who we are. And that's the other part that you talked about is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, right?
Yes.
Because saying you're sorry is vulnerability, but
Mm-hmm.
there's power in recognizing that you were wrong and
Yep.
having the courage, which is power also, to own it, apologize, and move on. What I think happens too many times is we get caught up in everybody around us, Sally, Jude, John, Tim, whoever, who don't do that. And they seem to just climb the ladder within the midst of their cruelty, their ignorance, and a lot of the other things. And we then get hung up and say, well, if they can do it, I don't understand why I can't. And then we're all in that, right? Okay,
So, Linda,
it's
I'm going to give
totally,
you something you gave me. I'm going to give you something you gave me. Okay.
yes, what's
So, for the audience, so Linda is one of my mentors, right? And there are times in which I've gone to you in tears, like, woe is me, woe is me. And you have said to me once, stop comparing yourself to
that?
somebody else, because what John, James, Sally, Bob, what they can do is going to be a whole lot different than what you can do. And you have to realize that. So don't measure your success on what how other people get up that corporate ladder.
Right.
Make your own path.
That's
And
right.
because your path is going to be so much different, and you're going to have a more enriched path because you've had to overcome some obstacles that they didn't have to overcome. So,
Mhm.
and because there are many times in which I'm sitting at a table and I'm the only person in the room that looks like me,
Mhm.
right? And I have to realize and be conscious of that fact and carry myself sometimes a little bit differently,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, and that's okay. But it's also you recognizing where you are, and
Mhm.
you said it best. You have to have that self awareness.
Oh, it's
You
critical.
have to
It's
have that self
critical.
awareness.
It's critical. And the ability to accept feedback. I mean, you talked about that too, Sonia, which I mean, to me, feedback is a powerful tool. I mean,
Hmm.
and I don't couch it around positive, negative. So especially, if I'm fortunate enough to get it, because here's what I do found negative is people have thoughts about you, opinions about you, think what you believe what you should work on, and they don't tell you.
Yep.
That to me is the negative piece. When they tell you, that's power because now you've made me completely aware, and I'm going to go and address that. I can
Yes.
remember, I'll share this little story with you, and then I'd love for you to talk a little bit more too about maybe some of your experiences of getting out of your way of feedback. I remember that I'm going back now, a long time ago, high school. Went to an all white high school, and I wanted to be on the color guard. I was determined to be on the color guard. Well, the first year I could try out, didn't make it. Okay. Only little black girl out there, didn't make it. What I decided to do is find out why. Why didn't I get selected?
Hmm.
So I asked, and they told me, they gave me that feedback. You know what I did with that feedback, right? The next year, tryout time, your girl had the highest score, ended up making color guard, was captain even of the
Mm-hmm.
color guard, because I took that feedback and used it as a power tool and perfected. And
Mm-hmm.
back then, those been they weren't they're aluminum now, they're light. Back then, them poles were steel, and I was whipping that flag, but I was determined. And I believe it's the same for us in our career. Feedback is such a powerful tool. Wouldn't you say
Remember,
that?
I would agree. Remember, my father, well, first off, there's two quotes in there. The first one, and people tell you this all the time, knowledge is power.
Mm. Yes.
Okay. I mean, they've been saying that since the early days. Knowledge is power.
Yes.
So much you can do with knowledge, and feedback is knowledge.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, if it's good constructive feedback, what you're really trying to understand and do is, no kidding, what are people saying about you when you're not in the room? Because you have reviews, and managers sit around tables, and vice presidents sit around tables, and they talk about us, right? You need to find out what they're saying about you when you're not in the room, because when you're in the room and they're staring at you, you're great. Oh yeah, no big deal.
Yes.
But when
Yes.
you're
Yes.
not in the room, that's when they pull up their sleeves, and that's when they really talk about you, right? If you can find someone that's going to give you that feedback, that's knowledge. That's power. Because now you can take that knowledge and you can take that power and you can do something with it. If
Oh
you
my gosh, that is
choose,
so
if you
true.
choose to do something with it. Now, if you
Yes.
sit on it and you just like, "Oh, that's not me," then you know what? You're going to stay where you are. But
Absolutely.
but there's
Absolutely.
another nugget in there.
And I have to
Uh,
share this. So you probably heard that barking, right? So Marcello, my little dog, even agreed with what you were saying. You heard that in the background.
but
Yeah. No,
it
go ahead,
is
Sonia. Go ahead.
but it is so important. So I read a book, and we had a speaker once, Carla Harris,
Ah.
and there was something that she said to me that I have told people, and I take it into my own. As
Mhm.
you're working your way through your career, make sure that you are in the right seat on the right bus,
Mm.
because sometimes you're in the right seat, but your bus not the right bus,
Not the right
not the
bus. Oh
right bus.
my gosh. And you know
So, and
what?
then I take it one step further. I
Go ahead.
ensure that that bus seat, I'm in the driver's seat,
Oh my gosh.
because you don't want your. And so think about that about your career, right?
Hmm.
You're in,
Hmm.
and again, I'm not saying the analogy of, oh, my bus is my company and I need to quit. That's not what I'm saying. That's not
Hmm.
what I'm saying. I'm saying that you may be in the right seat. That must maybe your department. Maybe you need to find another department. Maybe you need to find another manager. Maybe,
Mm.
so don't always think that you have to jump companies.
Yes.
Sometimes you may just need to move out of that particular area. When I was at another company, and I came to you, and I had an opportunity, and you mentioned it. I had an opportunity to do an assignment someplace else, and it was, Linda, what should I do? I gave you a laundry list of
Yes.
reasons why I can't, why I shouldn't. Oh my gosh! And afterwards, you were very kind, and you said, "You done? Did you get it all out? You sure you got it out? Is there anything else you want to say to me, Sonia?" And I said, "No, I'm good." And she's like, "Throughout all of that, what's the real reason?" I scared.
Hmm. You were
I was too
afraid.
scared. I was
Yeah.
scared. And
Yeah.
you were like, "Get out of your way. You're
Yeah.
in the right seat. Let's get on a different bus."
Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
did.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
did. And I'm on a different bus now. I'm in the same
Yeah.
seat. This is a different bus now.
Just a different bus
And
now. Yes.
I'm on a different bus. And even when I had to get on a different bus, I still looked for a bus where I was going to be appreciated and not tolerated.
Hmm.
you know?
And I
And
and I
go
think
ahead.
that, some of the stuff that you're saying, Tanya, Sonia, I just think is just so critical, right? Because a lot of times we will make the jump conclusion that we have to leave, right? Oh, I got to quit, right? I got to
Yes.
quit. Where I'm at right now, this isn't working. They're not this, they're not that. And there's something that I say all the time. Be careful because everywhere you go, there you are, right? Everywhere you go, there you are. So
Yes.
I believe that when you take the time to truly do the introspective work, when you truly pull back the onion and you get out of your own way, meaning
Mhm.
work on Linda, work on Sonia, then when it is time, when the opportunities do come for you to change the bus, right, with that seat, then it's going to go smoothly
Yes.
because you've gotten out of your own way. We control our careers, we control how we show up, we control the aspect around us. We can't control everybody else externally. And really, to get hung up
Um,
in, you know, I had Cheryl Thompson, who was on another guest, and we talked about the systemic changes that need to take place. And yes, there are systemic changes that need to take place in certain companies, not all, but certain corporations. But we'll just say corporate America as a whole. Yes, they do need to take place, and there's things that are happening to change those. But in the midst of all that happening, you can still have the career that Sonia's sharing,
mhm.
right? Getting a mentor, getting self awareness buttoned up, getting your EQ buttoned up, and experience what Sonia just shared. Or, like I said, not having the issue of everywhere you go, there you are, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that I think is so key. Wouldn't you say, Sonia? I mean, it's
I,
so key.
it is. I mean, it is. I cannot tell you how important that really really is. And I think the other thing, if I could, you know, and you mentioned the word mentor a
Mm,
little bit earlier. I really and people use this um, so interchangeably, and it's not. There is a difference between a mentor and a sponsor.
hmm. Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
there's a huge difference, and you know, as you work on yourself, and something that you said, and I want to make sure I come back to that mentor sponsor thing. Um, you are right. If you don't have good EQ, at the end of the day, it's so here it is. Elizabeth Taylor, who was she married 8 times,
Yeah.
9 times, 10 times? Guess what the common denominator and all that was? Her.
Her. Yeah. It's my girl, though. I
Same,
watch her movies, but go ahead.
and I'm good with that. But at the
No,
end of
no,
the day,
I
it's
got
kind of
you.
like what you said. It's still
No, it is.
you. So
Yeah.
if you consistently keep having the same issue over and over again, if people keep telling you the same issue over and over again, then you really have to look at it and go like, the only common denominator in this is you, hon.
Is
So
you. You got to look
it's
in the
you,
mirror,
you've
and
got to look at it.
that's where that mindset shift comes in, right?
You and you have to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable in your own home, pulling
Mm,
off the mask and
mm,
showing who the authentic Sonia is, then you're going to struggle. You
yes.
have to go to work every day to be your authentic self.
Yes.
You can't be anything else. If
Yeah.
and you'll be miserable, and eventually you will begin to smell unauthentic,
Yeah.
and you can only keep up that facade for so long.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's just who you are. So go to work every day, be authentically you, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And if you can't change, then you need to work a little bit on you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
or you might need to find a different seat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
might need to find a different seat. Again,
Yeah.
not telling anybody to quit, but I am telling you, you have to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to be able to look at you and say, I didn't list my flaws. I know what my flaws are because I have spent years writing them down. It's like, you know what? 12 people have told me the same doggone thing. Guess what? It's a flaw.
Mm,
So I either have to work on the flaw, take a class, read a book, find a good girlfriend, find a good mentor, and work on that. because your mentors at your job can also assist you at
Yeah.
working on your flaws. Linda,
Yeah.
you assist me on working on many of my flaws.
Mm,
But at the same time, my sponsor put his name on me and gave me
mm,
those opportunities, gave me that, and I'll always be grateful
right.
for that sponsor. And I tell even some of the younger female engineers that I talk to, get a mentor, but more importantly, get a sponsor, because
Right.
that sponsor is the one that's going to go out and say, I put my name on Sonya, give her the chance. I put my
Yeah. They'll
name on
open the
Linda.
doors. They will
Now,
open the
the
doors.
only thing they'll
Then,
do is open the door.
yeah,
You have to deliver, right?
you got to
But
show up.
the only
Oh,
you
there's
have
no
to
doubt about it. I'm so
authentically
glad
show up.
you've got to deliver the results. Exactly. You got to deliver the results. And I will offer to the audience now, sponsors aren't always visible, so I want you to understand that. I had a sponsor too that took care of my MBA at Michigan, wrote the check when I was working at a certain company. He made himself visible. Your sponsors may not always make themselves visible, but they rise out of your network. They rise out of building relationships. And as Sonya just shared, some mentors can eventually migrate themselves into a sponsor. They're those people that are, movers and shakers. They can create opportunities. They can make sure your name is in the top spot. She
Hmm.
had Sonia just shared. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Her sponsor, she was aware of who he was. I just shared my experience. I was aware of who mine was, but they may not always be. The key is though, you want to show up. Sonia, it's been beautiful. Authentically yourself. After you've done that, peel back and work on yourself so that your EQ and everything is strong and you can get out of your own way so that those sponsors do step up on your behalf.
Hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna say 10 out of 10, you're gonna kill it when you're
Hmm.
given that opportunity and you're not scared. As
And
you
you're
said,
not,
you're not
but
scared.
it's important. But you know what? When we all get scared at work,
Oh, sure.
it is that's human nature, right?
Yeah.
But you have to take that risk.
Yeah.
No risk,
Yeah.
no reward. And
Yes.
and
Yes.
I am so grateful that I took the risk. And even when I was looking for a new opportunity, I remember interviewing, and I literally said, you know, this I'm looking for a family, and I'm looking for some place where I can grow
Wow.
and be
Yeah.
my authentic self. And you look at the offers, and it's like this is where I want to end up.
Mhm. Mhm. And you were fortunate enough and found that
And
because
I
you
was
stepped
fortunate enough
out.
and found it. Yeah, I did.
Yes, because you had done the work to prepare you for the opportunity you have today. Sonia,
And
I
I also want to
thank
thank
you.
you,
Oh,
Linda, because
mm,
at the end of the day, you served as a dynamic mentor to me. You listened to my tears. You listened to my wonderful stories. You gave me great advice, absolute wonderful advice. And, again, if I could tell the audience anything, it is just that. Um, and again, you will have many mentors. You will have many mentors. You'll have mentors inside of your company and outside your company. You will have mentors that actually ask to be your mentor.
mm,
Take them all. Take male, female, your, different races, because everybody brings a different
mm,
perspective to you. And then you learn from those mentors. It's important to get that. And even where my new company, it's, someone already reached out and it's like, hey, let's sit down and talk.
wow.
Shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm coming up on a year so quickly.
Wow. That's phenomenal. That's great advice, Sonia, that I think is perfect to close this episode on. Look, listen, we would love to hear from you. Please put in the comments, send me a DM, send me an email. Any way you want to communicate with me, would love to hear. If there's any part of Sonia's, experience, her journey, her story that resonated with you, you're in the midst of a mindset shift, or you're trying to figure out how to peel the onion back or how to strengthen your self awareness. how to build your network of mentors, send us a message. And Sonia will definitely, along with me, respond. We'd love to hear from you. Sonia, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you for spending this time with me. I knew it was
Thank
going to
you.
fly by.
It
It's been
did.
awesome.
I
It's
was
been
very
awesome.
nervous.
I don't know why. You were fabulous. And so to everybody, thank you for joining. It's always a pleasure. I can tell every Tuesday, it's my favorite time of year. So with that, we'll see you next time. Take
Bye
care.
bye.